The perfect crime is a myth. We imagine serial killers as cinematic geniuses, always 10 steps ahead of the law. But history tells a different story. Some of the world's most terrifying monsters weren't caught by DNA or high-tech surveillance. They were brought down by things so small, they seem almost comedic. A floppy disk, a specific brand of sneakers, and a single sentence in a newspaper. Today, we look at 3 killers who thought they were invincible until they made the one mistake they never saw coming. The high-tech blunder, Dennis Rader/BTK. For 30 years, Wichita, Kansas, lived in fear of BTK, bind, torture, kill. He was a phantom. He murdered entire families and then vanished. He mocked the police with letters, playing a game of cat and mouse that lasted 3 decades. By 2004, he was a local legend of evil, a man who had successfully retired from murder without ever being identified. BTK's ego was his greatest weakness. After years of silence, he started sending letters again. He wanted to know if the police could track him if he sent them a floppy disk. He literally asked them, "Be honest, can you trace this?" The police lied. They told him, "There is no way we can track a disk." He believed them because he thought he was the smartest person in the room. He sent the disk to a local TV station. Within minutes, forensic experts looked at the metadata of the Word document. It showed the file had been last saved by someone named Dennis at the Christ Lutheran Church. One Google search later, police had a name: Dennis Rader, a church leader and local compliance officer. When they arrested him, Rader was genuinely shocked. His first question to the detectives was, "I thought you said you couldn't track the disk." He had outsmarted himself by trusting the very people he was trying to terrorize. 30 years of mystery ended by a save button. The Night Stalker's sweet tooth, Richard Ramirez. In the summer of 1985, Los Angeles was hell on earth. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was breaking into homes at random. He left pentagrams on the walls and forced victims to swear to Satan. He was chaos personified. No DNA, no clear pattern. The city was paralyzed. The only physical evidence was a single footprint left in blood. It was a honeycomb pattern from an Avia sneaker. But here's the thing. Avia was a small brand back then. Investigators found that only one person in the entire region had bought that specific model in size 11.5. The demon had a shoe size. Ramirez lived on Pepsi and Hershey bars. His teeth were rotting. Survivors described his breath as smelling like death and sugar. This specific detail, the Night Stalker's decaying smile, was put on a sketch. He wasn't a dark god anymore. He was a guy who desperately needed a dentist. His face hit the news while he was on a bus. When he stepped off, he saw his own face on a newspaper. He tried to run, but the neighborhood recognized him. A mob of angry citizens chased him down and beat him with a steel pipe. The monster was caught not by a SWAT team, but by grandmothers and neighbors with tire irons. The linguistic signature, Ted Kaczynski/Unabomber. For 17 years, the Unabomber sent sophisticated bombs through the mail. He was a ghost in the woods of Montana. He targeted universities and airlines. He was a mathematical genius with an IQ of 167. The FBI had 0 leads, no fingerprints, no hair, nothing. He was the perfect invisible criminal. In 1995, he made a mistake. He demanded the newspapers publish his 35,000-word manifesto. He thought his ideas were so brilliant they would start a revolution. He didn't realize that every person has a linguistic fingerprint, a unique way of using words. The Unabomber's brother, David, read the manifesto in the newspaper. He recognized a very specific phrase: "You can't eat your cake and have it too." It was a phrase their mother used to say in a very specific way. David realized the monster the FBI was looking for was his own brother, Ted. The FBI swarmed a tiny one-room cabin. Inside, they found the genius professor living in filth, surrounded by bomb-making parts. 17 years of terror ended because he couldn't stop himself from using his favorite family idioms. His brain was too big for his own good. But the arrest was only the beginning. Part 1. The Dark Archives of BTK. When police finally entered Dennis Rader's home, they realized that the church leader lived a double life that was far darker than anyone imagined. They found hundreds of Polaroids and sketches hidden in his basement and even inside his office at the city building. Rader had kept trophies from every single victim. But the most chilling discovery was his planning for the future. Even though he had been retired for years, Rader had a hit list of future victims. He was waiting for the right moment to return. This tells us that he didn't stop because he felt guilty. He stopped because he was playing a long game. He was a collector of lives, and his house was his private museum of horror. Part 2. The Night Stalker's survival instinct. Richard Ramirez's capture wasn't just about a mob. It was about how the city of Los Angeles had changed. During his trial, Ramirez showed no remorse. He would walk into the courtroom with a pentagram drawn on his palm, shouting, "Hail Satan," at the cameras. But the investigation revealed that Ramirez was nearly caught multiple times before the sneakers gave him away. He once left a distinct shoe print on the ceiling of a room, proving he was agile, fast, and almost supernatural in his movements. The police realized that he was often watching his victims from the shadows for hours before he struck. He wasn't just a killer, he was a predator who studied the city like a hunting ground. Part 3. The Unabomber's paradox. The most fascinating thing about Ted Kaczynski was the contrast between his mind and his reality. He was a man who hated technology, but he used high-level physics to create bombs that were nearly impossible to trace. Inside his tiny cabin, the FBI found a completed bomb under his bed, ready to be mailed. He lived with no running water and no electricity, eating rabbits he caught in the woods, all while writing complex mathematical theorems. He lived like a man from the 18th century, but he held the power to terrify the 20th century. His arrest didn't just stop the bombings, it revealed a man who had completely rejected humanity to save it from machines. These stories remind us that no matter how smart or cruel a person is, they are still human. They leave traces in the things they buy, the files they save, and the words they speak. The Night Stalker, BTK, and the Unabomber all thought they were gods. But in the end, they were just men who forgot that the smallest detail can be the loudest witness.